I was standing outside our own bedroom, barefoot on cold hardwood, holding a tray with 2 mugs of tea, hers with oat milk, mine black. My fingers trembled slightly, but not from the heat. From the sound. From the damn sound coming through that locked door again. My body, my rules. My body, my rules. My body, my... I didn't knock. Not anymore. It had been 28 days since we got back from the honeymoon, and 27 since she started locking that door. 27 nights I'd slept on the couch, each time wondering what the hell happened to the woman I married in that sunlit chapel in Vermont. What happened to the vows? What happened to us? She hadn't so much as touched me since we got home. Not a kiss, not a hug, not even a brush of fingers while passing in the hallway. At first, I thought she was tired. The trip was long, the wedding chaotic. But by day 4, when she started spending an hour every evening in front of the mirror whispering boundaries, I knew something was wrong. Not just off. Not just moody. Wrong. Like I married a mast that cracked the moment the plane landed. That first week, I tried being understanding. Brought her breakfast in bed, picked up her dry cleaning, even vacuumed the whole apartment while she meditated. Door locked, music blaring, zero acknowledgement. She'd nod, smile vaguely, call me sweetheart, and then retreat into her fortress of candlelight and TikTok therapists. I tried to talk about it. 3 times. Each time I was met with phrases that sounded rehearsed, as if copied from a script. I just need space to reclaim my energy. I'm honoring my inner goddess right now. You're not entitled to my body just because we signed a piece of paper. That last one hit like a sucker punch. And not because I felt entitled. Hell no. But because it was spat at me with spite, with disgust. As if she'd spent the whole engagement pretending, waiting for the ink to dry so she could drop the act. But tonight broke something. I stood there with the tea until the ceramic burned my palm. Her chant had shifted now. Lower, darker. Less mantra, more weapon. I heard pacing. Drawers opening and slamming shut. Then silence. Then laughter. Not amused laughter. The kind you'd hear from a villain after setting something on fire. I set the tray down, turned, walked into the kitchen, and opened the bottom drawer where I had stashed the envelope weeks ago. Inside was a single document. Clean. Precise. Pre-filled. Annulment petition, already signed by me. Dated 2 days into our honeymoon phase. That was when she accidentally texted me a message meant for her sister. A screenshot of my wedding photo with the caption, *ugh. Let's see how long I can drag this before he figures it out. Manifesting alimony energy, LOL. Asterisk. She played it off like a joke. I said nothing. Smiled. Laughed even. But I screenshotted everything. Every message. Every suspicious notification I caught on her lock screen. Even the one where she texted her ex at 2 a.m. saying, I'm married, but not dead. I never replied to any of it. I just watched. Waited. Observed this woman unravel with disturbing calm, as if this was her plan all along. As if I was some gullible step in her TikTok glow-up journey. Back in the living room, I grabbed my phone. Opened the folder labeled insurance. It wasn't insurance. It was evidence. Her voice recordings. Her Instagram DMs. A video of her bragging to her coworker over brunch. He's so proper. He wouldn't survive a week without my approval. I hold all the power now. I stared at the screen for a long minute. Then I sent one message to my lawyer, already on retainer. Proceed. Tonight. When I returned to the bedroom, I didn't knock. I didn't beg. I slid the petition under the door like it was a bill in a hotel room. Then I walked away, silent. 2 minutes later, I heard her voice, sharp with confusion. Ben? What's this? I didn't answer. I just turned on the TV, poured myself a whiskey, and waited for the rest of her world to start burning. She didn't open the door right away. That wasn't her style. Sarah needed control, always did. Even now, with the annulment papers sitting like a loaded gun at her feet, she waited. Probably pacing, trying to calculate her angle. I could almost hear the gears grinding behind the silence. 3 minutes. Then 5. Then, click. The door cracked open just enough for her to peer through, eyes narrowed, jaws set like stone. She looked almost amused. Not worried. Not hurt. Just entitled. What the hell is this, Ben? She asked, holding up the petition like it was an eviction notice meant for someone else. I didn't look up from the glass in my hand. Exactly what it looks like. Her tone sharpened. You're filing for annulment? I nodded once. It's already in motion. She laughed. God help me, she actually laughed. You're serious? She said, crossing the room like a cat circling prey. Her robe swayed just enough to let me know she wasn't wearing anything underneath. A performance. Always a performance. Ben, be real. You wouldn't last 5 minutes without me. You think some judge is gonna believe you didn't get what you wanted in this marriage when you spent the last month groveling like a lost puppy? She leaned against the wall, folded arms under her chest, eyes blazing with arrogance. And that's when I stood up, calm, slow, methodical, and walked over to the cabinet. I opened it, pulled out the manila envelope, and tossed it on the table between us. She looked down at it, then back up at me. What's that? Your words. Your real ones. A flash of confusion. Then curiosity. She opened it. The first page was a transcript, her voice, pulled from one of the recordings. Her laughing with her friend Michelle about how she kept the bedroom door locked to test the waters and retrain me. The second page? Screenshots. Her text messages. That smirk of hers didn't just fade, it cracked. You were spying on me? She whispered. No, I said, my voice dead calm. I was documenting the fraud. She dropped the folder like it burned her. You seriously think this is going to hold up in court? I don't need it to, I said. But you do. Because now it's not just a bad marriage. It's a strategic manipulation of consent, intent, and trust. And the judge is going to hear every word of it. From you. In your own voice. That was the first time I saw her mask slip. You said you loved me, she murmured. You made promises. I let out a breath and looked her dead in the eyes. And you broke them the moment we walked back through that door. She shifted gears fast, classic Sarah. We could talk about this. No need to rush. Maybe we just needed time. Like the time you spent texting your ex while I was at work? She flinched. Slightly. But it was there. You checked my phone, she asked, venom building in her throat. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. I knew you were weak, she hissed, stepping closer. But this is pathetic. You're pathetic. Real men don't run to lawyers because their wife needed space. I didn't blink. Real men don't stay married to liars who treat intimacy like a weapon. That stopped her cold. I watched her chest rise and fall, her breath shallow. She knew the game was shifting. And for the first time, she wasn't holding the controller. You want more? She whispered. No. I want freedom. Then I picked up my drink and walked past her, slow, steady, and left her standing in the ruins of her own performance, robe open, folder of evidence scattered like ashes on the table. She thought this marriage was her stage. She didn't realize I just closed the curtain. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just stood there in the middle of the living room, surrounded by candlelight and self-help books, clutching her own words like they were foreign to her, like they didn't come from her mouth, like she hadn't orchestrated every lie down to the minute. I went into the kitchen, poured another drink, and opened the blinds. It was raining outside, quiet, steady, the kind of rain that didn't roar but soaked you to the bone before you even noticed. Fitting. That's what life with Sarah had become, a slow, quiet drowning under the illusion of peace. You blindsided me, she finally said, her voice behind me now. That's real cute, Ben. Real brave, dropping this out of nowhere like some kind of ultimatum. I turned and leaned against the counter, drink in hand. You locked me out of our bedroom for 4 weeks straight, Sarah. You called me a convenience and a message to your sister. Don't talk to me about ultimatums. She rolled her eyes and paced toward the kitchen island like she owned the room, like I was still the fool she'd wrapped around her perfectly manicured finger. That was sarcasm. You don't even understand my sense of humor anymore. Do judges usually laugh at perjury? Just curious, I replied. She went silent. It hit her then. This wasn't just me bluffing or posturing or reacting emotionally. This was planned, clean, precise. I hadn't raised my voice. I hadn't called her names. I hadn't even slammed a door. I'd simply taken everything she weaponized, silence, manipulation, entitlement, and stripped it of power. And that terrified her. You think you're going to win, don't you? She said, smirking again, but now it didn't hold. You think this is your big moment. Take back control. Be the wounded husband with receipts. I didn't answer. I took a slow sip, keeping my eyes on hers. "You're not going to walk away clean," she added. "You think I don't have dirt on you too?" I raised an eyebrow. "Go ahead. Try." She flinched, just a flicker, because she knew. There was nothing. I worked. I cooked. I stayed loyal. I paid off her student loans, for God's sake. She had tried to provoke me into some kind of mistake for weeks, hoping I'd yell, cheat, explode, asterisk, asterisk, give her a reason, asterisk, asterisk. But I hadn't. And now, she was out of moves. "I want a fair split," she said suddenly. 50-50. That's non-negotiable. My lips twitched. "We've been married 1 month, Sarah. There's nothing to split except the Netflix password and the fake promises you made on camera." She stared at me like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. Not because I was wrong, but because I wasn't begging. She stormed off into the bedroom, slammed the door, and I again locked it, like a child throwing a tantrum. But this time, it didn't rattle me. It confirmed everything I already knew. I walked into the guest room, the place I'd been exiled to since our return. I opened the drawer, pulled out the shoebox I had hidden behind an old stack of tax documents. Inside, every receipt from the wedding she insisted we pay for alone, the proof of her bridal influencer sponsorship scam that never existed, and a printed log of her burner Instagram account where she bragged openly to strangers about her spiritual rebranding as a free woman who trapped a beta husband for financial stability. She thought she was invincible behind screens and scented candles. She thought she'd mapped out every angle. But Sarah never once stopped to think, what if I had started paying attention? I stared at the evidence in my lap and smiled bitterly. Not because I was happy, but because for the first time since that locked door clicked shut, I felt awake, present, unnumb. It wasn't just about getting out. It was about exposing the performance, tearing down the whole stage she'd built around me, and making sure the spotlight hit her full in the face. The silence that followed from her room wasn't peaceful. It was panic, marinated in pride. And I knew she was planning something. She emerged the next morning like nothing had happened. No mention of the petition. No comment about the folder, the evidence, the locked door, or the recording she knew I had. She just walked into the kitchen wearing my shirt, asterisk, asterisk, my asterisk, asterisk shirt, and asked if I wanted pancakes. Like we were still some Pinterest couple in post-honeymoon bliss. I didn't answer. I just stared. That's when it hit me. She was resetting the scene. She wasn't apologizing. She wasn't even negotiating. She was rewriting the narrative, trying to gaslight me into pretending the last month never happened, into thinking I was the irrational one, the cold one, the man who couldn't handle a strong, boundary-setting woman. She poured coffee like we were playing house, then sat across from me, stirring it slowly with that glassy smile she used to use on waiters. "So, I've been thinking, maybe we should take a trip. Somewhere quiet. Reconnect." "Reconnect?" "Sarah," I said, my voice low. "Do you think I'm an idiot?" Her spoon paused mid-stir. The smile twitched. "No," she said slowly. "Why would you ask that?" "Because only someone who thinks I'm blind, deaf, and brain-dead would serve me pancakes and pretend I didn't hear you say I married him for the money and the Wi-Fi 3 nights ago on the phone." Her eyes flashed, just for a second, then softened into fake concern. "Ben, you're spiraling. You really are. And I get it. Marriage can be overwhelming for some men." There it was. The shift. Not denial. Not anger. Patronization. Like I was the problem. Like the petition in her hands and the proof in my files were symptoms of some emotional collapse on my part. She reached across the table, touched my hand gently, and tilted her head. "You're reacting. I know it's been a stressful few weeks, but relationships have seasons. This is just winter." I pulled my hand away. "This isn't winter," I said. "It's rot." She blinked. "I know about the burner account." At Sarah Uncaged? Real subtle. Her mouth opened, closed. For once, she didn't have a line ready. "I know about your little marriage detox posts. About how this was a manifestation exercise. How you planned to reclaim your divine feminine by locking me out and documenting my reaction like I was some lab rat." Now she looked angry. "You went digging through my private spaces?" "No," I said coldly. "I saw the account pop up in the people you might know section. Rookie move, really, using your old high school Gmail to sign up." She pushed her chair back. "Hard. You've been violating my privacy, Ben. You weaponized mine. We were quiet for a long time. The coffee between us went cold. Then she did something so grotesque, so calculated. I almost laughed out loud. She started to cry. Not sob. Not break. Cry. Soft, pretty, camera-ready tears, like a TikTok thumbnail designed to go viral. Do you even care how hard this has been for me? She whispered. How much pressure I've felt to be perfect for you. To show up every day and be this image of a wife I never even wanted to become. There it was. Finally, the unfiltered truth. You didn't want to become a wife, I said. You wanted to play one. And when the role got boring, you turned it into performance art. She stood there for a beat, mascara smudging at the corners, watching to see if I'd break. If I'd come comfort her, hold her, apologize. But I didn't move, because I realized in that moment, she had never once loved me. Not the real me. She loved what I represented. Stability, applause, an audience. And now that I had the spotlight pointed at her, she was unraveling. She stormed off again. Not to cry, not to reflect, but to regroup. I could hear drawers opening, the click of her phone unlocking, the furious taps of fingers on glass. I knew what she was doing. She was texting her sister, her lawyer friend, her mother, framing the narrative before I could. But what she didn't know is that by the end of the day, that burner account, the marriage detox posts, the recordings, they'd be in the hands of someone else. Not for revenge, not for ego, for protection, because I wasn't just ending this farce. I was burning the script. I didn't go to work that day. Instead, I sat in my car 2 blocks from the courthouse, phone in one hand, thumb hovering over the message thread with my lawyer. It was all ready, the burner account screenshots, the recordings, the transcripts, even the photo of the whiteboard from her shadow work corner, where she had literally written, *reclaim power, destroy dependence, marriage equals outdated, extract and evolve, not metaphorically, literally written in pink marker, under a vision board filled with pictures of solo trips to Greece and quotes like *no man is a home. I am my own shelter. And still, I hesitated. Because somewhere in me, some broken leftover piece, still wanted to believe she'd open that door and say something real. Not manipulative. Not strategic. Just real. Something like, I'm sorry, or I lost myself, or even I was scared. But what I got instead was a notification. A forwarded email from our building's property manager. Subject, request for lease change, urgent. Sarah had emailed them behind my back. Claimed I was emotionally erratic, requested the lease be transferred to her name only, and stated I had moved out indefinitely for mental health reasons. She even offered to take over full rent responsibility as a gesture of goodwill. She was trying to erase me from my own life before I could file a single motion. No discussion. No confrontation. Just a quiet little attempt to vanish me like a smudge on a mirror. I didn't even finish the coffee in the cup holder. I just opened the legal portal on my phone and uploaded the final batch of evidence. Then I texted my lawyer 2 words. It's war. When I got back to the apartment, she was on the phone, pacing barefoot in the living room with a smoothie in one hand, wearing a crop top that read self-love is not selfish. You need to understand, she was saying, he's emotionally unstable. He threw paperwork at me and left the house in a rage. I don't even feel safe right now. I've got a meeting with a spiritual trauma coach later, but I need legal advice first. She froze when she saw me. I held up my phone. You're on speaker, by the way. She hung up instantly. Didn't realize I needed protection from a guy who makes oatmeal and folds laundry, I added. She tried to recover. Ben, you've been acting really off. I was just trying to get ahead of. Of what? I stepped closer. The legal consequences of manipulating your husband into a one-sided marriage? Or the fallout from your burner blog where you document your wife's sabbatical like it's a lifestyle brand? Her jaw clenched. I can't even have private thoughts now? Private thoughts are one thing, I said. Publicly chronicling your plan to emotionally exile your spouse while preparing your rebranding as a solo influencer is something else. She blinked. You used our honeymoon for content, Sarah. You faked every laugh, every kiss, every sunset. You edited me out of half the photos before you even posted them. She didn't deny it. She just gave me that smirk again, the one that used to turn me on. Now it felt like glass in my chest. You're acting like I committed a crime, she said. I'm just choosing myself. That's allowed, you know. Women are allowed to evolve. I stared at her for a long moment. Then I walked to the hallway closet and pulled out the suitcase I hadn't touched since our trip, tossed it on the couch and unzipped it slowly. Inside was the hidden GoPro I had brought with me to document our honeymoon. She thought it was for snorkeling. What she didn't know was that I'd left it running more than once. I pulled out the memory card, walked over to her, and dropped it into her smoothie. You chose yourself, I said. Now the court will choose for me. She looked at the cup like it had bitten her. I walked past her, into the bedroom I hadn't seen in weeks. She didn't follow, because for the first time since we got back, she had no idea what I would do next. She knocked on the bedroom door 30 minutes later. Not loud, not desperate, just one of those gentle, manipulative little knocks meant to say asterisk, see? I'm being reasonable. Are you? Asterisk. I didn't answer. I sat on the edge of the bed she'd barricaded for nearly a month, running my fingers along the grooves in the wood. It still smelled like her essential oils and overpriced toner, but that scent didn't stir anything anymore. If anything, it made me feel nauseous. Another knock. Then, she said softly, through the door, "Can we just talk?" I let the silence answer. Then I heard her sigh. A long, theatrical exhale. She was warming up for her next act. I know things got twisted, she said, tone shifting like she was doing voiceover for a sad indie documentary. I didn't expect marriage to feel so restrictive. I thought it would be a space where I could explore who I am fully. And I guess I went too far. I stood and stared at the door. She wasn't apologizing. She was performing accountability without accepting a single ounce of blame. It was a trick. A classic Sarah trick. I just wanted us both to grow, she continued, her voice catching too perfectly. And maybe I thought pulling away would force us to re-examine our connection. You know? Like, pressure makes diamonds. I opened the door. And for a second, she thought she'd won. She straightened her posture, gave me that wounded but hopeful look, like a scene from some sad romance movie. Her hair was tied up, no makeup, barefoot, hoodie with sleeves pulled over her hands, asterisk asterisk weaponized vulnerability asterisk asterisk. Sit down, I said. She blinked. Okay. We both sat at the edge of the bed, facing forward. I didn't look at her. I just spoke. I'm not interested in therapy talk, Sarah. Not TikTok healing, not boundaries, not moon phase journaling. Just truth. She opened her mouth. I raised my hand. And if you lie once, just once, I walk out of this room and into my lawyer's office. And I don't stop until your entire side hustle of pretending to be the victim implodes. She swallowed hard. I waited. Okay, she whispered. I reached for the drawer beside the bed and pulled out a printout. Her Instagram DMs, specifically the one she sent to her ex 2 weeks after our wedding. Asterisk, he's sweet. Too sweet. I'm already sick of it. Asterisk. Asterisk, it's like he's allergic to chaos. I miss someone who'll fight me back. Asterisk. Asterisk, you made me feel alive. This guy just folds. Asterisk. She stared at the paper like it was in a foreign language. You sent these, I said, from our bed, after locking me out of it. She didn't speak. She just folded her arms and stared straight ahead, as if bracing for a storm. I didn't cheat, she finally muttered. I never touched him. Emotionally venting isn't infidelity. I turned toward her. Then why'd you delete the messages the same day I asked you why you weren't sleeping in the same room anymore? Her jaw clenched. I leaned in slightly. You didn't want me. You wanted the idea of being wanted, of being the one in control. But now that the power's gone, you're trying to call it intimacy. That broke something in her. Her face twisted, not in shame, but rage. You don't get to judge me, she hissed. You're just a boring man with a decent credit score and a trauma fetish for stability. You don't get to act like a saint because you printed some screenshots and hired a lawyer like a coward. There it was. Finally. I stood. That's the version I'll quote in court, I said calmly. Word for word. Thank you. She paled. Ben, wait. I turned to her once more. You had a month to talk. A month of locked doors, smug looks, and spiritual excuses. Now you want to unlock everything just because your mask slipped. She reached out to grab my wrist. I stepped back. No more stages, I said. No more scripts. Then I left her sitting in the very room she tried to turn into a fortress. And for the first time, she looked trapped inside it. The next morning, she was already dressed when I stepped into the kitchen. Full makeup, hair curled. A white blazer she only ever wore when she wanted to be perceived as polished but persecuted. Her laptop was open on the counter, and her phone was in her hand. She looked up and smiled like we were business partners meeting before a conference. "I spoke to a lawyer," she said brightly, sliding a stack of paper across the counter. "Mediation might be cleaner. We don't need to burn everything down. We're both adults." I didn't sit. "Clean?" I asked. "After you tried to evict me behind my back and brand me unstable?" She waved her hand, as if brushing away a mosquito. "That was theater. Emotion." I was upset. "Don't be so literal." I stared at her. "I'm not mediating, Sarah," I said quietly. "I'm dissolving." She sighed, then turned her screen toward me. On it, an email draft. Subject line, asterisk, urgent clarification regarding annulment allegations. Asterisk recipients, her mom, her therapist, 2 of her influencer partners, and surprise, asterisk asterisk a podcast host asterisk asterisk she had apparently pitched our story to. "Your story is evolving," I said dryly. "I'm protecting my voice," she replied. "People will talk. I'm just making sure they hear my side first." "You mean your version," I corrected. She smiled tightly. "Same difference." And then I saw the angle. This wasn't about salvaging the marriage. Not even close. This was about pivot. About turning a private implosion into a branded experience. A campaign. An arc. "Let me guess," I said. Episode title, asterisk surviving marriage, when the patriarchy wears a wedding ring. Asterisk. Her lips twitched. I stepped forward, both hands on the counter. "You don't want resolution. You want content. You're not trying to heal. You're trying to monetize." She laughed. "Are you jealous I've got an audience?" "No," I said. "I'm relieved they'll all see what a fraud looks like when the curtain drops." Her smile cracked. "Not much, but enough." "You're angry," she said, trying to tilt the tone into compassion. "That's valid. But weaponizing your hurt with legal threats won't make you feel better." I took a deep breath, reached into my back pocket, pulled out the receipt from our honeymoon hotel, the one she had demanded I book under her name for points. "You know what I found when I checked the rewards account?" I asked. She didn't answer. I slid another printout across the counter. An email confirmation from the hotel, sent 2 days before the wedding. Reservation for 2 rooms. One for us. One under a different name. Her ex. She froze. I stepped back, slow and quiet. Like lowering the volume on the last lie she would ever speak to me. "You didn't just disrespect the marriage, Sarah," I said. "You engineered it. Like a scam. Like an art project." Still, she said nothing. Just blinked. Once. Twice. Slowly. I could see it happening behind her eyes, her entire narrative, her entire performance, starting to collapse under its own weight. She opened her mouth. I raised a hand. "No more statements. No more positioning. You locked the door for a month and preached autonomy. Now I'm giving it to you." I turned and walked to the bedroom. She didn't follow. She didn't shout. She just stood there, fingers hovering over the laptop, realizing the story she was trying to control was no longer hers to tell. Because now, asterisk asterisk, the truth had its own momentum. Asterisk asterisk. She tried to flip the script that night. I was in the bedroom packing a suitcase, not to leave, but to stay elsewhere while the process unfolded. I didn't want to breathe the same air as her anymore. The scent of her lotions, her candles, the trail of highlighters and journals scattered like breadcrumbs of fake self-awareness, it made my skin crawl. Around 10, she knocked once, then walked in without waiting. No apology. No softness. Just a bold entrance like she still had some kind of right to access me. She leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, that rehearsed smirk already curling at the corners of her mouth. "So this is it? You're just giving up?" I didn't even look up. "No. I'm correcting a mistake." She scoffed. "Wow. Real brave of you, Ben. Just walk away and paint me as the monster. You think people are going to feel sorry for you? Please. You're not some hero. You're just embarrassed you couldn't handle a woman with autonomy." I zipped the suitcase shut, stood, and faced her. "Autonomy?" I said. "Is that what you call emotional blackmail now?" She rolled her eyes. Don't be dramatic. No, let's be precise, I snapped. You staged an entire month-long withdrawal as a performance. You manipulated the narrative to make it look like I was unstable. You blocked me out of our shared life and used words like sacred feminine energy and healing to justify treating me like a stranger. That's not self-love, Sarah. That's a goddamn power trip. Her face didn't change. She was waiting for me to burn out, like I always did, get angry, then fold. Say too much, then apologize. That was the pattern. My anger, her ice, my regret, her silence. Then we'd loop. But not tonight. I picked up the suitcase, walked past her, and stopped in the hallway. And if you're planning to keep playing the victim in public, I said over my shoulder, you should probably stop forgetting your iCloud syncs everything, including the voice memos you never deleted. Her eyes widened, just for a second. I walked to the entryway table, opened the drawer, and pulled out my iPad. I tapped the screen and hit play. Her voice echoed through the apartment, recorded 2 weeks ago. Asterisk, I don't care if he finds out. Let him cry. Let him file. I'll still come out of this looking empowered. Men always lose control first. That's the story people love. Asterisk. Silence. I didn't know that synced, she finally said, voice barely above a whisper. No, I said. You didn't think I'd ever fight back. I grabbed my keys and stepped toward the door. But she moved fast, too fast, and suddenly she was in front of me, blocking the exit like some final act of desperation. Vin, wait, she said, voice trembling now. We don't have to destroy each other. This can still be quiet. Clean. I can take down the posts. I can. I laughed. Cold. Sharp. Take them down? You hashtagged our divorce plan before it even happened. You monetized the failure of something you never even tried to make work. I was scared, she blurted. Okay. I thought if I let you in too much, I'd disappear again. Like in my last relationship. There it is, I said. The fallback sob story. Chapter 5 of your usual script. Her eyes welled up. I don't want this to be a war. Then maybe, I said slowly, you shouldn't have drawn first blood. She stepped back. I opened the door. And before I left, I said one last thing, because I knew it would echo. You locked the bedroom door for 30 days, Sarah. But it was never about the lock. It was the smirk behind it. The way you looked at me like I was a fool for believing you'd ever let me in. Then I walked out. And for the first time since we got married, she didn't follow. Because she knew. There was nothing left to win. The next morning, my lawyer called at 7:15 sharp. Vin, she said, we need to talk. Something's changed. I was sitting on a bench outside my friend Kyle's apartment, 2 duffel bags at my feet, a half-drunk coffee in my hand, and 3 hours of sleep behind me. I knew that tone. Professional, clipped, but laced with the kind of urgency that meant Sarah had done something stupid. Or calculated. Turns out it was both. She filed a response, my lawyer said, and submitted an addendum this morning through her counsel. She's claiming emotional coercion, a pattern of passive financial abuse, and, she paused, audibly scrolling, spiritual suppression. I stared straight ahead. She's painting herself as the victim, I said flatly. Not just a victim, my lawyer replied. A symbol. The language is frankly PR ready. You're not just her husband, Ben. You're the backdrop to her awakening. Of course. Of course she flipped the switch. From manipulator to martyr in under 24 hours. I could see the blog titles already. How I found my voice in the silence of my marriage. Why I locked the door. A manifesto of rebirth. Healing means leaving. My journey through performative love. I almost laughed. She's claiming the GoPro was a surveillance device, my lawyer added, and that you monitored her private growth rituals without consent. My jaw clenched. It was on the dresser. In full view. She used it to film her skincare routine twice. She also claims you threatened to destroy her professional reputation. That part's almost true, I muttered. Just not the way she means. She's playing a dangerous game, my lawyer said. You've got hard evidence. Dates. Quotes. Recordings. But if she controls the emotional narrative, she'll drown you in perception. She was right. Sarah didn't need truth. She needed traction. She needed an audience. She didn't care who believed what, as long as they shared it. Send everything to the judge, I said. All of it. I already have. But Ben, she hesitated. We might need to make some of it public. That stopped me cold. I had spent weeks gathering evidence, not for revenge, not for drama, but because I thought I'd need it in court. Quietly. Professionally. But if Sarah was moving this to the court of public opinion, I'd have to meet her there. 2 hours later, I logged into the Instagram account I hadn't touched in over a year. Notifications lit up like a Christmas tree. She had tagged me in a post. Asterisk, my truth may not be easy for some to hear, but I won't be silent anymore. To those who feel trapped in marriages built on shame, control, or silent expectations, you are not alone. Hashtag my body, my rules. Hashtag spiritual rebirth. Hashtag new beginnings. Asterisk. The photo? A serene shot of her sitting cross-legged in our living room. The bedroom door blurred softly behind her, glowing in golden light. She had turned a lock into a metaphor. The caption ended with a quote. Asterisk. Sometimes the only way to save yourself is to shut the door. Asterisk. I stared at the screen. Every line of that caption was perfectly crafted. Just vague enough to avoid defamation. Just sharp enough to draw blood. Comments were flooding in. Proud of you, Queen. Protect your peace, no matter what. Been there. Stay strong. Your strength is an inspiration. He sounds like a narcissist. I sat back, thumb resting on the edge of my phone. My face burned, not with anger, but with humiliation. Not only had she lied, she was being applauded for it. It wasn't just betrayal now. It was performance art, and I had been cast as the villain. I took a deep breath, and I opened my email. There, waiting, was the draft my lawyer had prepped. Subject asterisk rebuttal statement, for public release. Inside were screenshots, audio transcriptions, the hotel confirmation, the iCloud memos, the messages to her ex, the eviction attempt. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't even emotional. It was factual, clean, surgical, devastating. I hesitated for 10 full minutes. Then I hit send. To the press contact, to the judge, and to Sarah's podcast host. Let her lock every door she wants. This time, asterisk asterisk, I had the key, asterisk asterisk. She didn't post for 2 days. No sunrise affirmations. No detox tea links. No carousel rants about sovereign womanhood or blurry photos of handwritten journal pages. Just radio silence. And that silence? It roared. Because the truth bomb landed. My lawyer's statement, dropped cleanly and without commentary, spread like gasoline. Not viral. Not scandalous. But heavy. Grounded. Precise. It made noise where it mattered. Inboxes, contracts, clients. The podcast host? Canceled the episode. Her brand partnership with that wellness tea company? Quietly pulled. Even her therapist reposted an article titled asterisk, performative healing as emotional abuse. Asterisk. I didn't gloat. I didn't post. I just watched the House of Mirrors cave in. Around midday on the 3rd day, I got a text from an unknown number. We need to talk. Please. I knew it was her. She had burned our shared phone plan last week in some symbolic act of independence. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. 5 minutes later, my apartment buzzer went off. I didn't answer. Then came the knocking. Not frantic. Not dramatic. Just steady. Like she expected I'd be waiting behind the door, eager to hear her truth. I waited. Silent. Then the voice came, muffled but unmistakable. Ben. I'm sorry. No cameras. No audience. Just her. Out there, finally unscripted. I thought I could control the story. I didn't think you'd fight me like that. You were always so calm. So easy. I leaned against the wall inside, letting her words hang in the air like smoke. I wasn't trying to destroy you, she said. I thought I had to win. That was the most honest thing she'd said in months. She knocked again. Lighter now. Tired. I lost everything. I lost control of it all. A pause. I missed the version of us before I got greedy. I almost opened the door. Almost. But then I remembered every night I stood outside our bedroom holding her tea. Every laugh she shared with her sister behind my back. Every locked door. Every chant of my body, my rules, while knowing damn well she was planning to take everything with her if I broke first. I let the silence answer for me. After a while, her footsteps faded. She didn't knock again. And that was the final shift. She knew it now. The narrative wasn't hers anymore. Because the story was real now. And I was the only one telling it. She disappeared after that. Not physically, no. She was still around, still in the same city, still posting carefully cropped photos of herbal tea and blurry sunset walks from unfamiliar parks, trying to rebuild the performance piece she called healing. But something had cracked. There were no more smirks. No more hashtags. No more stage metaphors. She was unraveling quietly. Meanwhile, I was finalizing the annulment. My lawyer said the judge had reviewed both our submissions and called her written response concerningly manipulative. The hotel reservation under her ex's name sealed it. The memos on iCloud were the nail in the coffin. She had tried to weaponize feminism, mental health, and spiritual lingo as armor. But when it came down to actual evidence, it wasn't a story of empowerment. It was a blueprint of calculated fraud. That morning, I got a call from one of her old friends, Rachel. We'd met twice, briefly. Once at the engagement party, once at brunch during the honeymoon prep. She had always been quieter than the rest, less performative. That kind of woman who noticed things but stayed out of the fire. She didn't waste time. "I'm sorry for calling, Ben," she said. "But I thought you should know. She's telling people you're emotionally unstable and obsessed with controlling her. She said you hacked her phone, that she feared for her safety." I didn't say anything. "I don't believe her," Rachel continued. "I didn't at first. But now, after what you posted, I read it all. I saw the receipts. And the thing is, she's done this before." I blinked. "Wait. What?" Rachel hesitated, then exhaled. "She did this exact thing to her last partner. Not the marriage part, but the slow retreat. The spiritual transformation angle. The social media posts. She pulled the victim card and nuked his reputation before ghosting. He left the state. No one ever heard his side. I felt my chest tighten. She wasn't reinventing herself. She was recycling the act. Rachel sounded tired when she spoke again. "I think she believes the narrative as she builds it. That's what makes it dangerous. She believes she's the victim even when she's the one with the knife in her hand." I thanked her and hung up. Later that day, I got an email. Subject: Final hearing, annulment confirmation. It was done. Just like that. 1 month of marriage. 1 month of lies. 1 war fought in silence. And now, officially over. But it didn't feel like victory. Not yet. Because there was still one thing left to do. I walked into our old apartment one last time. She had already moved out. Took the crystals, the diffusers, the Himalayan salt lamp, even the fake plants. All that was left was an empty fridge and a stack of unopened mail with both our names still printed side by side. But there was one thing she forgot. Tucked behind a loose drawer in the coffee table was a notebook. Her shadow journal. The same one she used to reference in every argument as sacred. I didn't mean to read it. I shouldn't have. But I did. The entries started normal. Affirmations. Goals. Anger toward her mother. The usual stuff. Then came the real Sarah. Day 3 post-wedding. "I feel nothing when he kisses me. Is that bad? He's too safe. I miss fire. I miss chaos. I miss being the one chased." Day 10. "He made me breakfast. I pretended to be grateful. He watches me with those eyes like he's waiting for me to let him in. He doesn't realize the door was never open." Day 14. "I'm starting to feel like a prisoner in a gilded cage. I married a man who loves me, and I can't stand it." I closed the notebook. That was the last time I needed proof, because I understood it now fully. It was never about love, never about me. It was always about control. And the second I didn't fit the shape she carved, she pulled the curtain and rewrote the scene. But this story? I wrote the ending. 6 weeks later, I saw her again. Not planned, not dramatic, just there. It was a Sunday morning. I was walking out of my gym, earbuds in, hoodie up, mind somewhere else. The street was quiet, sunlight cutting through the late autumn chill. And then, across the intersection, I saw that walk. The one I used to know in the dark. She was standing outside a juice bar, holding her phone like it owed her money, talking too fast to a man I didn't recognize. Not touching him, not laughing. Just talking with that wild-eyed urgency she used whenever she was trying to convince someone of something before they asked too many questions. I paused for a second. Not out of sadness. Not even rage. Just a flicker of curiosity. Would she see me? Would she pretend not to? She did see me. She glanced up mid-sentence, froze, then plastered on a tight, synthetic smile like she was preparing for a camera that didn't exist. I didn't wave. I didn't nod. I just kept walking. Because now, I knew everything. She didn't chase after me. Of course she didn't. The man she was talking to turned to look, probably wondering who I was. She didn't explain. Just touched his arm and pivoted the conversation into something lighter. A recovery spin. I'd seen it before. That moment where the mask slips, and she throws it back on before anyone notices the seams. But I'd lived behind that mask. And now, I'd built something new. The court granted the annulment in full. No shared assets. No alimony. No mediation. The judge's summary cited clear and repeated evidence of manipulation, misrepresentation of marital intent, and psychological coercion. My lawyer called it one of the cleanest closures she'd ever seen in a contested filing. I told her it didn't feel clean. She said that's because I was decent. I changed my number the next day, deleted old photos, transferred everything digital to a hard drive, and tucked it away, not to forget, but to seal it. Like a wound that needs air to close but not fingers to keep reopening it. I bought a new bed, a new mug, even a new damn rug, just because the last one had her perfume soaked into the threads. And little by little, the silence stopped feeling like a punishment. It started feeling like peace. If you're reading this because you're in it, because your partner locked you out with a smile and told you it was for your growth, listen to me. If you feel crazy, if you're doubting what you know you heard, what you saw, if they're rewriting the story so fast you're gasping for air, stop. You're not crazy. You're not the problem. You're not a villain just because someone else needed to be the victim in their version of events. Locking the door wasn't the betrayal. The betrayal was her laughing behind it. The betrayal was knowing the door was never broken. She just never planned to open it again. And me? I left her with the door she built and walked into a life that didn't require a key to earn my place.